My security cameras caught them secretly expanding their driveway onto my property. When I knocked on their door, they smirked, "You can't prove anything." I laughed, "Oh, but I can." Days later, they opened their mailbox and screamed as they read the official order demanding they tear it down. I've lived in my Springfield, Illinois home for over a decade. It's a peaceful neighborhood where everyone respects each other's space. That was until the Thompsons moved in next door. John and Susan Thompson seemed friendly at first. We exchanged pleasantries, and everything was fine. But things started to change when John mentioned needing more parking space for their growing number of vehicles. One morning, I noticed construction crews at the Thompsons. They were expanding their driveway onto my property. I approached John immediately. "John, this extension is on my land," I said. He shrugged. "Are you sure? I thought this was our property." I knew my property lines well. "Yes, I'm sure." He smirked. "Well, it's done now." Frustrated, I decided to gather evidence. I installed security cameras around my property. The footage showed the Thompsons using my land without permission. Armed with this, I confronted John again. "I have footage of you encroaching on my property." He laughed. "You can't prove anything." I smiled. "Oh, but I can." I consulted a lawyer specializing in property disputes. After reviewing the evidence, we filed an official complaint. John received an order demanding he remove the illegal extension. The day he got the order, I heard shouting from their house. Susan approached me later, eyes red from crying. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. I nodded. "I hope we can resolve this." John refused to comply, leading to a court hearing. The judge ruled in my favor, giving the Thompsons a month to remove the extension. Weeks later, construction crews dismantled the illegal addition. The neighborhood buzzed with gossip, and the Thompsons became isolated. One evening, Susan told me, "We're moving. John thinks it's for the best." I nodded, unsure what to say. A month later, they were gone. A new family moved in, and peace returned. This experience taught me the importance of standing up for my rights. Without the security footage, it would have been my word against John's. Life returned to normal, and I continued to enjoy my home, ever vigilant about the boundaries that define not just my property, but also my peace of mind. So, like I said, the Thompsons packed up and left a month later. I thought it was over. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. About 3 weeks after they moved out, I started getting strange letters. No return address. Just shoved into my mailbox. No stamp. The handwriting was messy and rushed, like someone wanted to get their thoughts out before they lost their nerve. The first one just said, "Hope you're happy. You ruined us." I shrugged it off. Thought maybe it was one of the teenagers, angry their dad got embarrassed. I tossed it. A few days later, another one showed up. "Watch your back. Springfield is smaller than you think." Now that one made my stomach turn. I brought it inside and sat on the couch, staring at it for a good 5 minutes. Then I called the local police station. They took a report, logged it, and said they'd keep an eye out. But then stuff started happening around the house. My trash bins were knocked over 3 times in a week. Then one morning I came outside to find long, deep scratches on the driver's side of my truck. Nothing was taken. Just scratched up, like someone wanted me to know they'd been there. Still, I stayed calm. I added more cameras, even set up motion sensors around the driveway and porch. That's when I caught him. 2:14 a.m. on a Tuesday. Motion alert went off. I pulled up the live feed on my phone, half asleep, expecting maybe a raccoon. Nope. It was John Thompson. Hoodie pulled up, but it was him. I recognized the build, the way he walked. He was standing at the edge of my lawn, just staring at the house. Didn't move for 3 full minutes. He didn't touch anything. Didn't come close enough to break any laws. Just stood there, watching. I sent the footage to the police. They logged it, but said since he didn't trespass, there wasn't much they could do unless he stepped onto the property. They offered extra patrols. That was it. A few days passed. I didn't sleep much. I kept waiting for something else to happen. Then it did. I got a visit from someone in a cheap gray suit. Said he was from the county assessor's office. Claimed there was a complaint filed against me. Something about me not maintaining my backyard fence and unlawful structures. Only I didn't have any unlawful structures. He looked embarrassed. Said he had to follow up because of the complaint. I let him in, showed him everything. He apologized and left. Next week, same thing. Different guy. This time from the HOA. I'm not even in an HOA. Are you sure? He asked. I've lived here 11 years, I said. I think I'd know. He looked confused, left quickly. I started realizing this wasn't random. Someone was making fake complaints. Trying to flood my life with red tape. Trying to waste my time, stress me out. It worked. I was on edge. Every day I expected something new. Then came the worst hit. I got a letter from the city. Someone had reported me for expanding my driveway illegally. They attached photos taken from the sidewalk in front of my house, making it look like the property line was off. It was all twisted to look like I was the one who had crossed boundaries. Only this time, it wasn't a bluff. There was going to be an inspection. I nearly lost it. I pulled out my footage, photos, even the court order from when the Thompsons were forced to tear down their illegal extension. I built a full binder and marched into City Hall the next day. The clerk was polite, but clearly confused by the complaint too. "Sir, this doesn't match what's on record," she said after flipping through the file. "But the inspection still has to happen." Fine, I thought. Let it happen. 2 days later, the inspector came. A real professional. I showed him everything. He nodded a lot, took pictures, asked calm questions. Then, before he left, he said something that froze me. "You know, this isn't the only complaint we've gotten about you." "What?" I asked. He looked up. "You've had 4 complaints filed in the last 2 weeks. All from different departments. Same handwriting though. Someone's targeting you." I knew who it was. I didn't say anything. Just nodded. My mind was already working. John was trying to make my life miserable. Quietly. Legally. No obvious crime. Just nuisance after nuisance. Death by paperwork. But I wasn't about to let him win. Not this time. So after the inspector left, I sat at my kitchen table, staring at my binder of evidence, wondering what else John was planning. Turns out, he wasn't done. A week passed. Things got quiet. Too quiet. Then one evening, around 7:30 p.m., I was out back watering my garden. That's when I heard tires on gravel. Not my driveway, my backyard. I dropped the hose, sprinted to the side of the house, and froze. A flatbed trailer was backing into the vacant lot next to my backyard. I hadn't thought much about that empty lot since the old couple sold it a few months back. I watched as the truck parked. A guy hopped out and started unloading construction materials. Wood. Cinder blocks. A cement mixer. I walked over. "Hey, what's going on here?" He looked up, shrugged. "Just following orders. Building a fence. Owner wants privacy." "Who's the owner?" I asked, already knowing. He looked at his clipboard. "John Thompson." I laughed. Out loud. "He bought this lot?" "Guess so." I walked back to my house, blood boiling. Checked the county's property records online. And there it was. John had bought the empty lot behind my house. He now owned a strip of land that ran along the back of my property. And he was building a 10-foot-tall privacy fence right along the edge. It was legal, but petty. And clearly meant to block my view, close me in, and remind me he was still around. But here's where it gets weird. Later that night, I checked my camera footage again. Just habit at this point. That's when I noticed something strange. There were 2 men on the property that afternoon. The construction guy, and someone else in the back corner, near my garden. I zoomed in. It was John. Again. But he wasn't just standing there. He was digging. In the corner of the empty lot, near the old chain-link fence that marks my backyard's edge. He dug for about 10 minutes, then covered it back up and left. I had no idea what he was doing. But now I was on edge again. Next morning, I walked out there and examined the spot. The dirt was loose. I grabbed a shovel and dug it up. About 2 feet down, I found a sealed black box. Plastic, duct-taped. I brought it inside, gloved up, and opened it. Inside were papers. Forged documents. Blueprints, fake permits, property sketches, all showing me as the one who built the original illegal driveway. The same lie he'd tried earlier. Only this was way more detailed. And way more dangerous. These weren't just random complaints anymore. He was building a case, planting fake evidence on property he now legally owned. If I hadn't seen the footage, someone might have discovered this box later and assumed it was real. I immediately handed it over to my lawyer. He went quiet when he saw it. "This is serious," he said. "This could be criminal. Framing someone like this? It's beyond harassment now." So we went back to the police, this time with the new video, the box, and the timeline. They agreed. This crossed a line. But it wasn't over yet. 3 nights later, around 3 a.m., I woke up to the sound of a soft knock on my door. Not a loud bang. Just tap, tap, tap. Like someone wanted me to hear it, but not the neighbors. I looked through the peephole. No one. But when I opened the door, there was a small box sitting on the mat, wrapped in brown paper. My name written in shaky black marker. Inside? A dead squirrel, and a note that said, "Next time, it won't be an animal." Now it was personal. It was sick. I turned over everything to the police again. They started a formal investigation. They even put a patrol car on my street for a while. I added even more cameras, thermal, motion-activated spotlights, you name it. But I was done playing defense. John had made one mistake. In all his moves, he had drawn attention to himself. And now I had a plan, one that would turn every petty, sneaky, and illegal thing he did into a mountain he couldn't climb over. I wasn't just going to stop him. I was going to bury him in the truth. After the dead squirrel and the note, I knew I had no choice. John was spiraling, and this wasn't just about land anymore. It was about control, fear, and power. I stopped waiting. I stopped hoping he'd go away. I started planning. First, I had the black box forensics tested. My lawyer found a local data recovery expert who examined the paper, ink, and duct tape. It had John's fingerprints. And we had the camera footage of him burying it. We turned all that in. Then I filed for a restraining order. It was granted. He couldn't come within 200 feet of my home. But remember, he owned the land behind me now. That complicated things. So I made my next move. Quietly. Using public records, I dug deep into his new property purchase. Turns out, John had used an LLC to buy the lot. But he messed up. He filed some of the paperwork under his real name. Worse, he didn't get proper environmental clearance to dig that fence line. That was my opening. I submitted a tip to the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. Turns out, the lot had a protected runoff channel beneath it, and no structure could be built without full soil testing. The crew stopped work immediately. The fence build was shut down. John was furious. I knew because he sent me another letter, typed this time, full of threats, claims, garbage. I turned that in too. The real punch came next. My lawyer filed a civil suit for harassment, emotional distress, and property intimidation. We pulled every record, the fake HOA visits, the city complaints, the squirrel incident, the forged documents, everything. Then we brought in the video evidence. John was officially served 3 weeks later. But he didn't show up to court. He skipped it. Warrant issued. And that's when it all came crashing down. Because once they got the warrant and started really digging, turns out John had other victims. He had tried to do this before. Not just here, in other towns. Small claims here and there. Quiet lawsuits. He'd lost his old job for forging inspection papers. Everything unraveled. He was arrested at a gas station 3 counties over, trying to leave the state. They found more faked documents in his car. More complaint forms with forged names. All tied to me and 3 other neighbors he'd tangled with over the years. The man was unhinged. The trial was short. He took a plea. Felony harassment. Evidence tampering. Property fraud. He's serving time now. But it doesn't stop there. Remember how I said I made mistakes too? Here's mine. I let it get personal. I became so obsessed with stopping John that I didn't realize how much it was affecting me. I lost sleep. I lashed out at friends. I kept thinking about revenge, not peace. I became paranoid. I even yelled at a neighbor's kid once just for playing too close to my lawn. I wasn't the same guy. So yeah, I won. I buried him legally, took back my peace. But it cost me something too. After the court case, I sold my house. I loved that house. But it didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a war zone. I moved 2 hours away. Found a small place near the woods. No close neighbors. Just space. Quiet. I still have the cameras. Still check them every night. Maybe someday I'll stop. Maybe not. But I sleep again. And no one's ever going to pour concrete on my land again. Ever.